Well, it is not for the faint of heart. Traveling by boat means you're on 24/7.
We actually have a water maker. So that is a desalination device that takes salt water from the sea and makes potable fresh water. It has also made us super passionate about protecting our environment and our oceans because we see the effects of human impact on a daily basis. One of the interesting things about living on a boat is you aren't really ever stable. So our stove actually has a gimbal on it.
We're Jack and Sonia, and we've been living aboard our sailboat for the past 8 years. And this is Fathom.
We're here in La Paz, Mexico. Come check it out. Okay, so we're here on the deck of Gemini. She's a Passport 42. We have our windlass that pulls up our anchor mechanically. The jib is on a roller furler to make furling easily, which means rolling it up. And we have a staysail point for another sail, so that means 3 sails total. So here we keep all of our ground tackle lines all organized. I have a washdown hose, the remote for the windlass, and we have an extra bridle just in case we have a storm coming in. So when we're at a dock, we tie our dock lines to these cleats and they go through fair leads that attach to the dock. Those same cleats hold on to the bridle, and we have one installed right here. So this teak deck is a labor of love. It's Burmese teak from the 80s. It has a tendency to take a lot of maintenance, but we put a lot of work into it, and it's really catchy to the eye. Here at the base of the mast, we have all of our halyards that control our sails going up and down, and the winches that give us an extra purchase when we need to pull up a heavy load. So here in this bag is our mainsail. This is called a stack pack that organizes everything and keeps it protected from the UV. So without this stack pack, it's a whole separate cover. Every time you put the sail down, you have to put the cover back on. You get kind of lazy and you forget about it. With this stack pack, it opens up like a briefcase. The sail folds right in, you zip it up and you're done. So on deck we have a cooler strapped down that is used for fish storage, also for our washing machine. We can stomp our clothes out and clean them on deck. Off to starboard we have our scuba tanks and storage for our fenders when we raft up with another boat or we're at the dock. We also have a hard bottom dinghy that hangs off the back of the boat, and that's essentially our car. We get everywhere with it. We go to the beach, we get groceries, we do provisions. That is our lifeline to connect ourselves to shore. So off the rail we have a paddleboard holder, and that can fit 2 of our inflatable paddleboards. So for our standing rigging that holds up the mast, we've converted it all to synthetic Dyneema rigging. It's gone away from conventional stainless steel, and we were able to do all the splicing ourselves, and we saved 125 pounds aloft. Well, I've been sailing since middle school, so quite a long time. And once I moved out to California, I quickly realized that I couldn't afford to live on land, and went and purchased a Hunter Legend 37. After the waiting period, I moved aboard and met Sonia within a month after that. So that has been 8 years now that we've been living aboard boats. We've had Gemini for the past 5. And I don't plan on having another boat anytime soon.
I started sailing in high school. I was living down in South America with my family, and a friend of mine just invited me sailing, and I immediately fell in love with it. And all I wanted to do was have my own sailboat and live on it and do the whole thing. And I graduated high school down there and then moved back to California for college. And in my sophomore year, I met Jack through a mutual sailing friend, and we've been inseparable since. I was looking to buy a boat the day that we met, so it was meant to be. He had just bought the boat that we lived on for 3.5 years. And yeah, we just both fell into boat life, and it was just a natural progression for us. We both wanted the simple living and the nomadic lifestyle, and we both loved sailing, so it was perfect.
So now we're back in the cockpit. This is where all the business happens. We steer the boat from the helm, the steering wheel. We control our jib and staysail from these winches. And we have an autopilot system that is GPS and compass calibrated that we can press right here, and it'll steer our boat to the course that we want. We also have a handy old school compass and our iPad for navigation with charts. We have a solar arch that we installed and 2 solar panels on the back. Sun Powered Yachts has given us 820 watts of solar between 2 panels. And on the port side of our boat, we have our spare anchor and 3 different comm satellites. We have an Iridium Go that's for offshore. It's like dial-up speed emergencies. We have a WeBoost that just boosts cell phone signal from land. And then we have Starlink, and Starlink has been the game changer. We've had connection going across the Sea of Cortez. We've had connection in remote places in Canada where there's never been internet. So that has definitely been a game changer and the best money that we've spent. The arch also holds our dinghy, so we can pull it up with the purchase pulley system and pull it out of the water, and it's safe to store while we're sailing. Back here we have seats that we can put extra people in and get a little bit of elevation. This is a great space to lounge, and we can even take our cooler and put it right here, and we can have a nice place to relax during a sunny day. So we have our fishing net. Off the side we have rod holders when we take the fishing poles out from storage. And then our easiest form of fishing is a hand line. We trail a line behind us with a cedar plug, and that has caught tuna, dorado, that has also caught Spanish mackerel, salmon. We've done a great job at fishing with the hand lines. They're by far the easiest. So underneath this storage area is all of our spare lines. We have a roll stabilizer for rough anchorages. We have a charcoal grill. I have tons of extra painting supplies, varnish supplies. The list goes on. In this back section, we have 2 propane tanks that last us about 5.5 months total. And down here we have a portable gas generator. We have an emergency tiller and an extra jerry can for gasoline. All right, now let's go down below and have Sonia show you the inside.
Welcome to our galley, aka the kitchen. This is where we do all of our cooking. We host people over onto the boat. We're big on hosting, and we love to cook on board, so this was a huge selling point for us. It's a very large galley for the size of our boat. One of our favorite things of this galley is our top opening fridge. It's a huge space for a boat, but it also opens from the side here, from the vertical plane. So we have double access, which is awesome. It makes things much easier. You don't lose things down a big, deep pit. So that's a big plus. We also have a fridge freezer over here. And the way it works is we have one fridge compressor that runs this freezer box, and the cold air spills into the rest of the fridge unit. So it's pretty efficient for the amount of space we get, and it freezes fruit and meat and fish just fine. We have our marine stove. One of the interesting things about living on a boat is you aren't really ever stable. So our stove actually has a gimbal on it, and it will stay flat even if we're heeled over sailing at an angle. So that's really nice, because when you're sailing, and sometimes we're sailing for days on end, you got to be able to cook. Over here we have a deep pantry storage. We've got a lot of snacks and nuts and dried fruit, granola, that kind of thing. It's all in here. So we've got like dishes and cups, we've got potatoes, onions, a little bit of food storage, and we've got like all of our condiments, oils, vinegars, that kind of stuff. So tons of storage. Our fruit hammock keeps all of our fruit secure while we're underway, which is great, and still also very accessible so they don't go bad. It's easy to forget you have something if it's hidden in a hole. This is our little coffee and tea cabinet. We use this thing all day, every morning, usually every evening for a little cup of tea. And back here we've got our guest berth and what we call an aft cabin. This is where we sleep when we are sailing and we are moving. It gives us great communication to the cockpit, and it's just a more comfortable berth when we're underway and sailing. We have 2 big water tanks on board. I believe they're about 75 gallons each. We have water gauges that help us keep track of how much water we have. They are both installed under the floorboards, and below this galley sink cabinet is our engine. We are about to tear apart our diesel and go full electric on our boat, which is super exciting. It's going to be happening in the next couple months, and we're going to be fully off the grid and sailing without burning any fossil fuels.
Well, it is not for the faint of heart. Traveling by boat means you're on 24/7. Especially with just the two of us. If we're doing an overnight passage, it's 3 hours on shift, 3 hours off. You always have to keep your eye on the road or the water. And the boat wants to keep the water out. So your main goal in life is to keep the water outside of the boat, not inside of the boat. It's a really harsh environment. Salt water and UV deteriorate everything. So we have covers for everything. We constantly clean. It is a labor of love. I wouldn't want to live at a house. I find myself going to a house and cooking in a kitchen and feeling like I'm walking too many steps between the refrigerator and the stove. I like my tiny living, and it's made us really self-sufficient. We have a lot of tools on board and spare parts. We fix and repair before we replace. And it makes you really in tune with how much water you use, how quickly your holding tank fills up, what the weather's doing. Is it going to be blistering hot? Is it going to rain? Is it going to be sunny? And then also your consumption. How much power did you use, or how much power did you create from your solar panels? So it makes you hyper aware. It also makes you really soak up life and enjoy the slowness of it. We try not to sail on a schedule, so it could take us days to get somewhere. So it's quite hard to have people come visit us, because I can't say I will be here at this date at this time, because who knows if that'll be correct.
This is what we call the nav seat, the navigation station. This is where we have all of our electronics, all of our electric switches on the boat. We can turn on and off outlets, lights, water heater, water pressure, all that good stuff. We've got our instruments, which tell us the depth of the water, the speed we're going over the ground, and time, and the wind speed. We've got our battery monitor, which keeps track of what our batteries are doing. It's really important to manage the power load on our boat, make sure we aren't killing our batteries and running things too low. We've got our water tank gauges, which help keep track of how much water we've got on board. These are our battery switches. They can shut off the batteries completely if we needed to do that at any point. These are extra switches. This turns on and off our water gauge. And then we've got one down here that controls our charger and inverter. So here we've got our stereo, plain old stereo. We've got our VHF radio, which communicates us to anyone else out there monitoring a VHF channel. Usually Coast Guard is on channel 16, and like any kind of safety message you might need to send to someone would be on channel 16, but you can also communicate with friends who might be sailing by or other people in the anchorage. This right here is our bilge pump switch. So the bilge is the space under the floorboards in the boat. It's pretty much the belly of the boat. And if there were ever to be water down there or any other substance, this switch will activate a pump that will pump that water out of the boat. So if we had a leak or anything super serious, we can just turn this switch and pump the water out of the boat and keep us safe. Here you can see the deck prism light that comes through the deck. This is natural light just through a triangular piece of glass, and it's really nice to have those because it saves on power. We get great natural light down here, and yeah, they do get a little leaky from time to time because it is a hole in our boat, so it does take a little more maintenance, but they've been a huge perk for sure. So in this nav station, we've got a lot of storage. We've got an opening storage compartment here with all of our kind of office supplies, extra pads of paper, all that good stuff. We've got some kitty treats for our cat and a couple little like tie down straps and that kind of thing. We've got our grocery bags for when we go provisioning on shore. And down here we've got a bunch of cleaning supplies. Every little compartment on this boat has storage. So there's a lot of hidden compartments with extra storage space. And back here in the corner we've got kind of our garage space, which is even more storage. It is a berth, it is another bed, but we use it mainly for storage. It has also made us super passionate about protecting our environment and our oceans because we see the effects of human impact on a daily basis. We see the trash floating by, we see the fish populations dwindling, we see all of that firsthand. So we are super big on creating as little waste as possible. I mean, we make like this much trash in like a month of living our normal lives. We shop plastic free as much as we possibly can, which usually means we are sacrificing some easy conveniences. We make our own snacks. We make a lot more things. As we've heard the term like, are you an ingredient household or are you a snack household? We are definitely an ingredient household. We make everything instead of just buying it already made. And that avoids a lot of plastic and a lot of extra trash. And it also makes us eat healthier and really appreciate the things we can get wherever we are. So this is what we call the salon. It's also our living room. We hang out here a ton. Obviously we eat most of our meals here unless we're eating up in the cockpit outside. But we also watch TV, we have guests on board. I do a lot of my computer work here. It's just a general lounge area. And underneath all of these seats, there is even more storage. We even have some like hidden book compartments back here. Just a little bit of everything. Every square inch of space is used on this boat. This is one of our favorite little pieces of art on the boat. We actually got married this year up in the San Juans, up in Washington, and we got married. We actually sailed our boat from California up to Washington. We did a loop of Vancouver Island, and at the end of our loop, we had all of our family and friends join us on Lopez Island up in the San Juan Islands. We have our art wall here with little like thank you cards, birthday cards, some art, some photos. It's kind of like our little personalized section of the boat with some of our favorite moments. And here we have our one little boat plant. It's doing really well on the boat. It started out as one little leaf cutting that a friend of mine gave us, and it has flourished on the boat. We are trying to get it to spread its wings all over and keep growing. So it's loving this Mexico sun for sure. We have our traditional kerosene lamp on board. That's what most traditional ships used as light on board. So this is the other side of our salon living room area. We've got all of our technological gadgets, all our film gear, GoPros, all that good stuff in here. We've got our baking cabinet, all my goodies to make some cookies or cakes or anything. I love to bake, so that's jam-packed with good stuff. And then down here is our long-term canned goods storage. Tons of stuff down here. We could probably live off the food we have in here for like 2 or 3 months, honestly. We always have extra food on board. It's just like the safe thing to do. Even if you have fresh stuff, you want to have backup, like, you know, canned beans, veggies, all that good stuff. In this corner, we have all of our scuba gear. Very important corner. We used to have a diesel heater mounted right here. So that's why there's tile on the wall. And there's a hole in the ceiling right there for the stovepipe to go out. When we sailed south from San Francisco, we decided we were not going to be in cold climates anymore, and that storage space was going to be better used holding scuba gear. So we swapped the diesel heater for all of our scuba gear, and yeah, it's been great. We've got a little bookshelf here. This is our cat's toy corner. She loves hopping up in here and choosing her favorite toy. About 2 years ago, we made the upgrade to lithium batteries on board, and we have a 600 amp hour bank that are all stored under our seat here in the salon. It's been such a big upgrade to have the Life PO4 system on board. We don't have to worry about running our batteries a lot lower than we did when we had AGM batteries, and they can be used and abused in a way that other battery chemistries can't. One of the things we really value about our boat and the design is that we have not had to make any really important modifications to the design. It's really just been little upgrades or maintenance items. It hasn't been having to completely redesign or reinvent the wheel. We haven't had to change our bathroom or change our bedroom to make it comfortable and livable. This boat was just designed that way originally. So it's really nice to have a well-built, well-designed boat. And a lot of the newer boats are not designed to the same spec. All of the wood on this boat is Burmese teak that doesn't exist anymore. This boat was built in the 80s, and it was back when they didn't know how strong fiberglass was, so they overbuilt everything, and all of the wood is just of a quality that just doesn't exist. We have deforested all these places that had these beautiful old growth Burmese teak forests. So we feel pretty lucky, and we take great care of our wood because we know that we can't replace it with anything of the same quality. And now let's head forward into the bedroom.
So we started a marine business based in San Francisco Bay that takes care of boats monthly with washdowns and repairs. That's been in business for the past 5.5 years. We have employees taking care of the bare minimum for us while we're gone. Right now the clients are happy, their boats are cleaned, and everything is running smoothly. And so I'll be going back periodically, twice a year, to do the larger jobs, take the boats to the boatyard. But as far as the business goes, it's on very minimal autopilot.
Besides our marine business, I have actually started doing social media management for a handful of marine related businesses, which is great because that's all I'm about is boats. So it's nice to be able to work with companies that I'm passionate about, and it means I can do it anywhere. So with Starlink, we have been able to work remotely this whole time, and it's been great to be able to pay the bills while still traveling and doing something we love. We also have a small YouTube channel that we make a tiny little bit of money off of, but mainly it's just for fun, and we love sharing our adventures and trials and tribulations.
As far as how viable this is, we live a really simple life. So our budget is our budget, and we can squeak by, but we don't have many big expenses and overhead. So with a little bit of money we have coming in, I think we could run this for as long as we feel comfortable.
So this is our head, aka the bathroom. This is where we do our business. We've got tons of shelf storage here. We've got the hand pump toilet. We keep it simple on board. We don't like electric toilets because there's way more parts that can break. We've got tons of storage in here. We've got toiletries and towels, and our sink, which goes directly overboard into the ocean. So we only use biodegradable products, as little cleaning products as possible. Vinegar and baking soda are our best friends on board. They're natural, they clean just about anything, and they're really cheap. A huge upgrade on this boat versus our previous boat is this stall shower. It's got a nice little bench seat in here, so if we are sailing and we need to shower, we can sit down and not be getting thrown around. And the floor has a grate with a shower pan, and this little switch turns on a pump that pumps the water out and overboard so it doesn't pool up at your feet. So this is our main cabin. It is at the bow of the boat, the front of the boat. So as you can tell, it is a V shape. So we Naturally, we call this the V berth. It is actually a very large berth for a boat this size. The widest point of the bed is actually a California King, believe it or not. So getting sheets is a little tough because they have to be really narrow at the feet of the bed, but quite wide at the head of the bed. We have a hatch right here that opens up into the upper deck, and it's great for ventilation, for sunlight, even as an emergency exit point. Like if there were a fire right in the exit point over in the galley, we could hop out through here and be safe. So under our bed, we can store all of our extra sails, and we actually have a water maker. So that is a desalination device that takes salt water from the sea and runs it through a bunch of filters and makes potable fresh water. So we use that almost exclusively on our boat. We have not filled up from a dock in quite some time because we can make our own water, which is a great tool to have on a boat. And then we've got a hanging locker here for a lot of clothing, and we also have our scuba compressor in the cabinet, so we can refill our dive tanks and go diving whenever we want.
So we've worked to go cruising for the past 7 years, so now that we're finally down in Mexico, we are not in a big rush to leave. So we'll be down here for the next 2 or 3 seasons. After that, we will probably take a right and go across the Pacific, check out the French Polynesia Islands, New Zealand, possibly go up to Japan, Alaska, then back down to California.
Who knows? It's too far in advance to plan much further than like this season. That's one of the special things about this lifestyle, is you can't really plan that far in advance. So we'll see where the wind takes us, and until then you guys can follow our sailing adventures on YouTube and Instagram. We are To The Horizon. And thanks so much to Tiny Home Tours for checking out our boat. We will see you at sea.